Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell series premiere Friends of English Magic. Now I was very interested by the trailer for this series because it just seemed like a pretty interesting show based on magic where it's these two guys who kind of introduce magic to people and you could kind of tell that they were the only two that actually knew magic, and then they become rivals and it just seems like a deadly sort of back and forth between the two. And so, even though I'm like 2 weeks behind, I ended up seeing that it was on demand. So I was like, I want to check this out because every time I saw the trailer, I would be like, that actually looks kind of cool. So I was really glad I checked out this first episode because I did really enjoy it. I thought it was actually really well done. I always like a good period piece series. I always think that's really cool. The acting was really well done as well. Like all the different characters, I think it gives us a really clear split for the personalities of Jonathan and Mr. Norrell, where Norrell is the one who's a bit of a hermit. He likes to keep to himself. He's the one who, in this prophecy, is the one who kind of meets the Raven King with fear, while Jonathan is the one who meets him with arrogance and wants to kind of take over his place. Although the whole destiny is that they'll both fail, I think the interesting thing is that they're meant to be rivals, but I have to assume that they're gonna have to join forces to defeat this Raven King who I don't know if this person's gonna be good or bad, but they're kind of pitted as rivals, and then this Raven King is this ultimate destiny within this prophecy that's given. And I don't, it's very interesting to have that as the end point, where it's like they're both gonna sort of confront the Raven King, but both are meant to fail. So I really wonder if they will end up joining each other, and also how they officially become rivals. Because in this episode, and this was the thing that really caught my attention. Only one person is actually involved in magic, and that's Norrell. And Jonathan is kind of like just trying to live his life. He's trying to marry this girl. He's the funny one, and he's trying to be serious, and he has serious moments in his life, like his father dies. Although he walked away just smiling, like, all right, I'm free of that crap. So he's like the one who's just like, I want to do something. I need something so that I can show this woman that I'm worth marrying, because she's the only thing that really matters to me. So now he's gonna end up becoming a magician. He does like a small spell, and he sees Norrell in the mirror. So I'm very curious to see how he progresses from that little spell to some of the stuff we saw in the trailer, like him doing the magic trick with the sand, and he makes the horses kind of run towards the water. So I'm really excited to see how they end up coming together and how they really become rivals with each other. And I just think it was really cool the way that it was kind of started up. Like Norrell goes to this new place, and it's like, oh, he's the one. He's like this great magician, and he wants to help with the war after all this time of kind of being a hermit who's practiced magic. And he gets to this new place. He wants to help with the war, and all that's happening is he's basically seen as any other magician, which is just a faker. Like he's just seen as a faker. He apparently the guy who's always like mispronouncing his name and trying to get super fancy with it, he made up this really weird story where he helped housemaids wash clothes, I guess. I don't know how that happens from he made statues talk to this, especially when it should have been in the paper like this is exactly what happened, but somehow they did. Somehow it went from he made statues speak and sing and move around to he helped clean some laundry or something like that. So it was just really funny. Like, it's just everything that happened with his character was fairly interesting, and how he wants to do this, and he decides that he wants to help, and he's kind of going back and forth even within the episode, and then he performs this ultimate trick as the very last piece of the episode, where he brings a girl back to life, and we get to meet this crazy spirit guy who actually brings the girl back to life. And I thought that was actually a really cool scene. I thought he'd just end up bringing the girl back to life. Maybe something would go wrong, because he did mention that there are a lot of things that could happen to the subject. And we find this spirit who's the one who brings people back to life. He mentions that he wants half her life and stuff, and I feel like Norrell kind of missed an opportunity. He was like, well, she probably could have went to live on to be this many years old, and it's like, well, that's 75 years from now. I would have been like, maybe she would have been like, I don't know, 120 years old. I would have just like threw out a number just to have it there, but he kind of went realistic with it. And considering this is a crazy spirit that he has no idea about, that's probably the wiser route, to be totally honest. And so this spirit kind of just takes her finger. She's just like up, like, oh, I don't feel it, and just I don't know if she's gonna be the same or not. But she, of course, when she first woke up, she was just like, oh, I believe I was dead for a little bit, but I'm not dead now. And she's like looking at her hands and stuff, and she's just like, hey, let's dance. So I don't know if she's gonna be the same character. Obviously, the only introduction we had before she was dead was her coughing and being sick and saying, "Oh, I like magicians," and that's it. So we'll have to learn that throughout some of the later episodes and the other characters that knew her before she was sick and before she died the first time. But I thought it was really cool. He performs this trick and is like, I want to prove that I can actually do magic. I'm not just some street peddler or anything like that. And I want to make this big effort so that I can do even more to help the war. And he does that, and he kind of goes right back to his hermit ways, where it's like, I did this, and he leaves. He doesn't really say a thing to anyone. He like the people freak out. They kind of barge in. He's like, what have you done? Once the girl wakes up, he doesn't have to respond because obviously this girl that was dead kind of says it all. And he just closes his book, has this thing, and he just walks right out. So I really enjoyed the way they did his character, and I loved how he's trying to deal with certain things. Like, he didn't believe this prophecy, and so now he's getting, like, there's this other magician. He also got it from like this spirit guy at the end as well, where it's like there's like, oh, there's definitely another magician. So I have to assume that it's in intervals for this weird prophecy, that there's always going to be two magicians at any given time. There's never more than that. There's never going to be one, at least until the Raven King himself. So I think he's going to really get into that in the next couple episodes, like really learning who's this other magician going to be, um, the rivalry stuff and things like that. And I'm excited to see that. And I like to see how he plays it, as well as how I guess he's his servant in a sense, but the other guy who's like really calm, and he's like, you should do this, you should show people your magic so that you can help and stuff. I really like his character too. He goes and he's kind of the outspoken of the parrots, like Norrell and him. And they may have said his name and I just completely forgot. But I really like this character. He's the one who goes out. He's the one who finds the guy who's telling the prophecy. I even like that guy. I don't know if he's going to show up. They did mention sort of the prophecy stuff with the tarot cards, that he might not make it exactly. So I'd like to see how the two of them interact in the future, possibly. Because certain things were said, like they don't really kind of just throw it in our faces. But the servant guy knows magic as well. He mentions that he has those spells that he doesn't actually use, but he does, kind of show the display of the cards. And I don't know if that's, in the series at least, if that's going to be equivalent to what Norrell can do and stuff like that. But he is at least practicing. He knows certain things, and he had those spells on him, which I would have to assume, was actually going to cast, but they end up being taken by like the street peddler guy. So I'm not sure how all that stuff's gonna play out with them, but I like their characters. I like that the guy seemingly is magical himself, like the sort of vagabond guy, because he's at one point in the city with them, and then somehow he's way out in the field with Jonathan, and he gives him the spell. So he's obviously a part of this sort of weird destiny between Jonathan and Norrell, where he's like, meant to set, obviously Jonathan on his path, because Norrell was the one who practiced. So he had to get the other one involved, and he definitely succeeded in that. After Jonathan decided to try out the little spell. So I love this first episode. I like the characters. It's definitely a funny show. It has its good comedy moments. I'm really excited to see the more dramatic side when they officially become rivals, because in the trailer alone, it just seemed really well done. Like, there was serious stuff with Norrell where he was talking about, I believe, killing Jonathan. So it's just a lot of cool stuff. I'm really excited to see. There's this whole Raven King stuff happening, and I love the way they did that. That was without a doubt one of my favorite moments, when it was like the guy licked his thumb and he put like a dirty print, seemingly a dirty print on the king card, And then they go through and they flip all the cards over, and this little spot is actually growing into the to a raven, and it's over the king, so it's the Raven King. And I thought that was just a really cool way to do that, and it was just nice. I thought it was a really well done show. Very subtle for the first episode. It was like here are the characters, here's what they do, and here are their personalities, and I really loved it. So getting this first episode and then comparing that with some of the scenes we got to see in the trailer, I'm incredibly excited for where the show is going to go. I don't know how long it's going to end up being. I assume it's a miniseries. I could be wrong though, but I'm definitely glad I ended up checking this out. Of course, I want to know what you guys thought about this premiere, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. And of course, with this being the first episode, and we have two very important characters, even though it's the first one, I would like to know what you guys think of, both Norrell and Jonathan. Like, do you like one more than the other? Because I think a lot of people would choose Jonathan because he's just the more outgoing, outspoken character who's really just trying to make a life for himself. And I think he has more of the everyday sort of life situation compared to Norrell, who seems like he's fairly rich when they go to his house, and he's just got this giant library of super ancient books, and he's always buying all these magic books and things like that. But either way, I like both characters. Like I said, I want to know what you guys think about both of them, as well as this magic premiere for this series. So please comment below, let me know, and of course, thanks for watching.